More than 10 years ago, I was like, I want to speak Japanese. And now, all this time later, I'm barely an N5 level. So here are my top 6 things that slowed me down the most and I wish I did differently. I wish I didn't go look at the complicated stuff that just exists in the language. Before I even decided to learn Japanese, like seriously, I would go on the internet, read all those articles like, oh, did you know that you need to memorize over 5,000 kanji? Did you know that there are over 100 counters? Did you know that there are onyomi and kunyomi readings? Godan and Ichidan verbs, conjugation rules, and all that stuff. And I was like, there's no way I will ever be able to learn that. So why even waste my time trying? But the thing is, if you study correctly, you will gradually increase the difficulty and it won't even be that noticeable that you are studying the difficult stuff now. So instead of scaring yourself with the things you will face in the far future, just learn the basics first. For example, if you are not familiar with the Japanese language at all, start with watching anime or dramas or listening to Japanese music to just hear how they speak, where do they make the pauses, what words they use the most, and then go ahead and learn hiragana and katakana and basically just naturally reach certain points instead of just, reading about the terrifying things. I wish I didn't try to learn the language randomly based on whatever I want to learn at this moment. It did me no good. So one day I would like to introduce myself or tell somebody the direction or order something in the restaurant, and I would be like, okay, so today I'm gonna be learning this topic, and then I go ahead and search up the information, and I didn't even know about the levels and 5 and 1, whatever it is, and I would just read random information and be like, oh, this seems pretty difficult. Or for example, I wanted to say the phrase please say it slowly, so I found it as yukuri itte kudasai. So I knew the word kudasai, but I didn't know the first 2 words, and I didn't take time to just look up which word means what. I would just try to just push it in my brain and just remember basically robotically just the sound of it. I had no structure to it, and I would be overwhelmed obviously because I would be watching N1 level video about how to say certain things, and I would be like, I don't understand anything, I wonder why. So I really wish I'd built this structure for myself first, then I wish I'd found all the resources that I will be using, and then I would do the actual studying. And also don't forget to set yourself a very realistic goals. So don't just go on YouTube and watch a video on how to learn Japanese in 4 hours, because you will not be able to do that. As for resources, I've already spoken about this in my other video, but I will mention it here in case you didn't hear it. So I really recommend the book which is called Japanese from Zero, because it's actually is from scratch, from zero, for absolute beginners, because sometimes the books or videos are called for absolute beginners, but you already have to know hiragana and katakana and some basic vocabulary and all that stuff. But in this book, all the explanations are in English. They use romaji when you're just starting, but they gradually introduce hiragana and katakana characters. So by the end of book 1, you are able to read in hiragana and katakana, and it's so much easier this way. I know a lot of people are against using romaji because it slows you down. Why use it? Because Japanese people don't use it, but I think it's very important because you are not Japanese. You're learning a completely foreign language for you, so you need to have this a leg to stand on when you're seeing romaji. It makes much more sense to you. So again, build yourself a structure and go step by step. I wish I hadn't based all my experience and understanding of the language on just one source. So when I first decided that I want to learn Japanese and I need to start somewhere, I would find a website or a YouTube channel or something, and I would just stick to it. I would not use anything else basically, because I was still in high school, and the word teacher meant much more to me back then than it is now, because I trusted anyone who was named a teacher, even if they didn't have a qualification or anything like this. But I felt okay, they know much more than me. They will introduce all the information, all the things that I need to learn, and if I don't understand it, the problem is in me. And I did struggle a lot. I didn't understand many things, and I was like, okay, this probably not for me. I probably need to give up on studying this language. And I did give up actually many times. But later I actually entered the university to become a teacher, and looking at my colleagues, I quickly realized that not every teacher is the same. Some may know less, and the techniques that they use are also very different, and some may not be suitable for you. So if you're having a hard time using the resource that you've chosen, choose another one. Or even better, find multiple resources that teach the same thing to just see which way is more useful, efficient, and understandable for you. I wish I'd begun studying kanji way earlier. There are so many like horror stories about kanji. Everyone's like seemed to be scared of them and even starting them. And there was a point in my life when I was like, maybe I don't even need to know kanji. I can get by just learning hiragana and katakana. And also in like books and stuff, they have hiragana characters above the kanji. So I will probably just skip learning kanji. But obviously it is not the case. First of all, kanji makes sentences much shorter and easier to read and give and provide the necessary context to it. So for example, here's one of the most famous sentences probably. It's niwa niwa niwatori ga iru, which in hiragana looks like this, and then you can see it in kanji. It's much more clear and understandable. And these two mean the same thing. The chicken is in the yard. And also most of the time you can clearly see the particle, because when you're reading just in hiragana, you don't know if it's a part of a word or is it a particle. And also kanji helps you to distinguish the homonyms. So for example, the word atsui can mean hot thin or hot weather. And obviously they use two different kanjis. And if you use one of these, it will make it much more clear. Of course, you can sort of like guess it from the context, but at the same time, it's like, why would you? They decided to use kanji just for this exact reason. And also like kanji is a part of Japanese language. If you decided to learn the language, you need to learn all the parts of it, not just pick and choose whatever is easier or whatever you want to. But the good news is that nowadays it's so much easier to study anything pretty much, because there are so many different apps, websites, and whatever you want to, all the information is served to you. The only thing you need to do is just take the time and study it. So for example, I've been using the MochiKanji app, who are also the sponsor of today's video. Thank you so much. But I've actually been using them before they reached out, which is super cool. So MochiKanji uses the spaced repetition method, which I low-key hated for a while. I was like, I want to study as much as possible in one sitting, like 1,000 words that I will never remember. Why are you not allowing me that? But now I'm a big fan, obviously, because it doesn't let me to overwhelm and overload my brain. And they use this cool unique feature, which is called golden time, which based on your personal learning history calculates when you are just about to forget the word, and they hit you up with a notification so you can go back and revise it before you forget it. And this way you can easily memorize 1,000+ kanji and vocabulary in just about a month. And it actually works. Sometimes I'm like, I type in the answer and I'm like, how do I know this? It's in my brain, but it still hasn't registered that I know this, but I do, if that makes sense. So if your goal is to learn as much as possible, open the app whenever you see the notification. But if your goal is to be more chilled and relaxed, just study however much you want. I also want to point out that they don't go into the depth of the kanji, like all the different multiple readings and meanings. It just gives you the word which uses the kanji, which I think when you're just the beginner, it's way more convenient and efficient to learn this way, because you can take one kanji and learn all the 13 meanings that you will probably maybe never use, or you can take one kanji, so like for example this one, and learn it in the context of a word tabemasu, which is much easier to remember. And also later, if you see this kanji in the context of some other words, so like nomimasu for example, you will know that this means eat, and then combined with this it means drink, and you know, it's just easier this way. I also really love that it's separated into small lessons with the different topics, so you can choose and pick whatever you want to learn right now. So for example, as you can see, I skipped the business, company, corporate vocabulary because I don't use it. I don't need it right now. It's not a priority. And also there are so many different topics and courses that you can choose from basic kanji, conversational vocabulary, everyday, corporate, traveling, JLPT lessons from N5 to N2. Also, there are different activities that you can do. So basically, when you first open the topic, you will be given a bunch of flashcards. So on one side, you will see the illustration and the word in Japanese, and then you flip the card and you will see the translation. So after you familiarize yourself with the words of today's topic, you will be given a bunch of activities to like build the word from the hiragana characters, or fill in the blanks, or choose one option out of 4, like the translation for the kanji or the meaning of the word. One thing to remember though is that whenever you're asked to write the meaning of the kanji, you will need to have the Japanese language in your keyboard. But first of all, it's very easy to add, and second of all, if you're learning Japanese, it would be very useful for you to have a Japanese keyboard. anyway. Also on your homepage, you will see your progress. So you will see 5 levels of memorization. First level is when you just learned the word, and then level 5 is the long-term memory. And also if you click on your little notebook, you will see what words are in what level, which is super useful. And also just overall, the design of it, the colors, the animation, the sounds, the music it plays, it just, I don't know, it just puts me in the good mood like immediately. Also, there's a new feature called J Vocabulary, which allows you to look up words in kanji and experience the language in one tab. But unfortunately, right now it's only available on the website. And if you want to be updated about the new features added and stuff like that, you can join the MochiKanji Learn Japanese Facebook group, where you can also join interesting events along with getting useful Japanese knowledge. So you can download MochiKanji using the link in the description. Otherwise, you can go to the App Store, Google Play, or their website by texting MochiKanji Learn Japanese. Again, thank you so much to MochiKanji for sponsoring today's video. I wish I joined Japanese classes way earlier. These doesn't have to be like every day, twice a day, 4-hour courses or something. Once a week would be plenty. If I'd had this sort of like responsibility, like, oh, next week I'm gonna go to the courses, I need to maybe learn something new or do the homework or something like this, it would be much more structured and also very useful. When I was attending the last courses, I was actually ahead of everybody else because I was studying on my own a lot. They weren't. So I didn't really learn that much, but at the same time, I really loved attending anyway. It gave me the opportunity to talk to other people in Japanese, practice speaking, and do some extra exercises and stuff like that. I actually wanted to take Japanese as a second language when I was in the university, but they decided not to make this course, and I was sort of forced to choose German, which I also didn't learn because I didn't like it, but I also didn't go to the Japanese courses because I was like, oh, okay, I have this language to learn and I have all the other studies, and I feel like I don't have time to do that. But at the same time, I think I did. I think I could have found like an hour a week or maybe on the weekends. So I really wish I'd started earlier. I'd be probably fluent by now. But I also understand that going to the courses means you have to find the time to do that, and also money, and it's not for everybody, but if you have the opportunity, I would definitely recommend taking it. I wish I stopped questioning the reasoning for my studies. I spent so much time thinking like, I will probably never use Japanese. I will probably not go to Japan in the near future or maybe ever. So why waste my time learning this language? Everybody says that Chinese is way more useful and will open more doors for you. So maybe I should start learning Chinese, or also there's Korean. Maybe I should take a look at that. I was having this inner dialogues with myself, weighing pros and cons, looking at the practical side of things. For so long, I could have easily passed like N4 during this time of me just thinking about whether I need to study or not. I wish I'd stopped just thinking about it and concentrated on the fact that I do love it and I want to learn it, and just nothing else matters, no further investigation needed. So these are my top 6 things that I think slowed me down the most. Feel free to share in the comments what other obstacles you faced when learning Japanese or any other language. And thank you for watching. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!